I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, and I'm located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Monroe, Washington. And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to Wheel Talk. We would love some more interaction with you all throughout this future episodes, and we would love to hear some listener questions. They may get on the episode.
Yeah, just submit them to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com, or you can submit them on our Instagram at wheeltalkpodcast. Thanks.
Started.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Becca.
Hey.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
It's been a long time since we last talked.
We're finally in June. Well, we've been in June for a little bit, but...
Yeah.
How's it going? How's today?
Back to work. Let's see, I got a lot of work done. I guess it was a typical day on the computer. I didn't actually work from my desk because my parents were in town this weekend, and you can see it, but there's a spare bed behind me because it's doubles as my office and our spare bedroom.
Yes.
Since Rachel has her own entire room for a dressing room. So my office has to double as my packing and shipping station / office / spare bedroom.
Well, you know,
so
happy wife is a happy life.
Yeah, that's a saying for sure. So yeah, typical day so far. Well, I'll get in the studio later tonight, but I did get a kiln hooked up yesterday. That was an exciting day yesterday.
Yay! And did you do a test firing yet?
No, so I can't fire it until my current kiln that's next to it is too close to it, so I still have it full of bisque pots or dry bone dry pots that need to be bisque fired. I still need to pack a few more to fill up the kiln, and then I'll fire that one, and then once we unload it, I'll shift that kiln over.
Nice.
So that I can put the box on the new one.
So do your shelves from your old kiln fit in the new kiln?
I believe they do. I took the new shelves and kind of dry fit them into the old kiln, which is actually a little bit wider, and they fit. So I would assume that the shelves in relation to each other, they look pretty similar in shape and size and stuff. So I think they should cross over.
Are they 23-inch shelves? 20?
No, the kiln is 23 for
so they're 20-inch
my
shelves.
current kiln, so they're probably 20-inch or 21-inch or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
So they overlap, so I can use them. And I got 6 new ones for the new kiln, so they're nice. They don't even have kiln wash or anything on them.
Oh my god. You know what, like, the biggest lesson I learned when I got brand new shelves? I'm not a big kiln wash fan, personally, but like the thinnest, most delicate layer of kiln wash is so nice on a clean shelf.
Because once you start putting layers and layers and layers,
it just flakes off. It flakes off, and it's so annoying. Like,
so you just put one thin layer?
I put one thin layer, and then I add a dusting of alumina or silica sand on the bottom. So I actually don't
on just the bottom shelf on its own, or
no, all the shelves. But not on the bottom. On the shelves, like, I dust alumina on it or silica sand, because I don't have pieces that run very much, and if I know there's a chance, I'll usually put a cookie under it. But but I do have plucking issues. Like, I do have the shelf will attach to the porcelain because I use a porcelain that has a lot of glass in it. So I put the alumina down so it doesn't pluck. And then when you take your stuff out, it's always got white stuff on the bottom, but it's fine. Like, it's fine. That's the system that I use that I've really liked, and I've had very few issues with my shelves.
So you dust those shelves with that powder every time you load a kiln, or you always keep your shelves upright and you keep them flat so that it kind of stays on them?
Pretty much every time I dust them if it needs it. But a lot of the time it'll just stay on there even if you put them to the side. It'll just kind of stick a little.
I usually put my shelf well, my big shelves, I guess, are flat, and then they're like stacked on top of each other with a stilt in between them to kind of space them vertically. But my like smaller kiln, I was sitting them on their sides, like standing up.
I would sit your
So
other shelves
stuff
on
would
their
just-
sides standing up.
Well, it's like how much space do I have to lean them in the spot that I want to lean them and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
So,
I just think that having something that's 20 inches around stacking up is a lot more space than leaning.
well,
them
they're
up the
all
wall.
half shelves.
Oh, they're all half shelves. Okay. I would still
Yeah.
lean them. I just lean them on the kiln. Lean them on the
Oh,
kiln
okay.
because then you know that you're going to use them anyway. So, and then if you have to move, well, you don't even really have to move them because if they get hot, who cares? If they get hot inside the kiln, they can
That's
get hot
true.
outside.
Yep. What about your bisque fire? You don't put anything on. Bisque fire doesn't matter because you can just stack whatever and you
No.
don't need kiln wash.
Yeah,
and you
I
just-
don't care about
load it
those,
up
but
and-
if there's alumina on there, I don't wash it off or anything. It's not like I'm gonna move the silica sand or the aluminum.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it there. So I just do a little bit more cleaning after the bisque is done before I glaze. Make sure that the alumina's off the rim and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the plan. I'll probably fire that bisque firing this week, and then we might do a test firing at the end of the week with the new kiln, and we'll see how that goes. So now I have a third kiln that's extra. That's my smallest kiln. That's a kiln sitter that I need to find a new home for. So
I'm
trying to
sure
figure
that
out
won't be an issue.
how I want to sell that, or if there's some. I kind of want to get it to somebody that's new that hasn't had a kiln before.
Just give it to them.
If it was the right person and I knew who it was,
Don't
I
be
would
chintzy,
willing-
Ryan.
I would be willing to give it to them.
Yeah.
But I still want.
Sell it for $50.
I'd be willing to sell it for a cheaper price than
Yeah.
what they would buy a kiln for that's used. Like some people buy used kilns for like $200, but I would be willing to give them a pretty steep discount on that
Yeah.
for their first kiln because I know it's exciting and.
Well, and they're gonna have to pay a bunch of money to fix it up anyway. I am a firm believer in if you've fired a kiln to it's to where it's not helping you anymore, there's no point in selling it. Just give it to somebody. Yeah, definitely a firm believer in that. Because
So how was your day?
I don't want the kilns in my life anymore. Anyway, my day was good. I got a pretty significant discount on a bisque order this morning that started my day off quite nicely.
You
And
mean from bisque imports? Like you were getting
Yeah.
some. Okay.
so, I mean, they had a sale going on, which is nice, but I had a coupon code, so I got like 20% off, which was awesome. And
Are they from? They're coming from China, right?
No, well, they're from China, but they store them in warehouses in North Carolina and Utah. The company is
okay.
based in North Carolina, and so so they ship from North Carolina and Utah.
Okay. I was wondering if they were getting a lot less sales because of COVID stuff going on in China.
I don't
People not
know.
buying Chinese
I did
products or something.
I
I didn't
did-
know if that was part of the reason.
I did get the impression that COVID has not helped them by any means. Like a lot of the stuff that I would have normally bought are out. And like they don't have
so they're
any.
not able to replenish.
Yeah, and I was like,
Ooh.
oh, COVID must be a bummer, and she's like, it is not helping.
Oh no.
But then I like went out and delivered some pottery and returned my Comcast modems to. I don't know if anybody else knows this. I didn't know this, so I'm gonna tell people. If you cancel Comcast, you do not necessarily have to find the nearest Xfinity store, especially if you're a business. A business, actually, they want you to take it to the UPS store, and you can just take it in. I just literally took the modem in, and I gave it to them, and they pack it all up, and they send it to UPS. So
You're saying because you pay
or not UPS,
what do you
they
pay a
send
monthly?
it to Xfinity.
You pay you were paying like a monthly rental fee for the modem or something?
Right, and because I don't know if you can actually buy them for the businesses, like business Xfinity.
Oh.
So I finally got myself out of that contract, and
Did it feel like a weight lifted off because you were like
Good
done with it officially?
Lord, yes, because they finally called me, and I was like, I have no idea where to take this modem. And he was like, "Oh, you just take it to the UPS store and then they ship it to us." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's
No,
so
get it
much
out of your
easier."
life forever.
Yeah, so I took that. That was great, and then delivered some other stuff. So yeah, it was good. Good morning. I have some decal mugs to do, and and I recently got a TikTok.
Oh my gosh.
and
I've had it for a while. I have not looked at it in quite a bit because it's a time suck for me. But
Well, I started doing like tips and trick videos for pottery, and I think it's going to do pretty well. It's not going to be like a personal thing. It'll definitely be like a business thing. And I mean, not even a business thing, because I'm not trying to sell anything, but I figured it'd be fun to get people. I mean, I'm not selling anything now. I figured it'd be fun to like,
try it out.
yeah, and kind of like share some knowledge. So that would be that.
You know who you should follow for that stuff? You should follow Rachel from Hill Bippy Clay.
I do.
Hers are great.
I do.
They're so funny. It's like, let's learn, and then they go into like,
yeah, she's hilarious.
wedge, throw, pull.
Yeah, she's funny. So I did one video, and I'll look and see. It's gonna be.
You said it was your first video, and it did really well.
My first video did do really well. Let's see if I can turn it.
Well, whatever really well is in the realm of TikTok.
Well, I think it did really well, and I could be wrong. So
Well, I think
my first video had 3,523 views, but 80 likes. And then I just recently did a video doing all the steps of throwing a bowl, and that has a 1,834 likes and 9,848 views.
dang.
So, and then another one has like 1,000, and I'm like, hey, that's like that's a lot. Like, that's way more than anything I would have ever gotten on Instagram.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't like, once COVID is over, I don't know how much I'll be selling online. I'm sure I'll be selling a little bit, but that's not like my focus. So it's just kind of fun to see see how fast news travels, I suppose. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like, I hope that I can educate people through that a little bit.
I think some of the pottery videos that people are watching, it's different from at least the majority of content that I've seen on TikTok is a lot of repetitive things that,
Yeah.
Dances or whatever that somebody does and then other people repeat, and then it's just
Right.
funny or whatever. So our content is a little more unique and original in that aspect, I guess.
Yeah, and
Even though people throw pots all the time, but
right. I haven't seen a ton of pottery videos that are education, like tips and tricks and stuff, and educational. Rachel's is one. I think.
I know John the Potter does some, but they're a little more entertainment value. And
Yeah.
video editing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which is his skill set. And
Totally. And Ashley, actually, from Bowl of I can never
Bowled Over Ceramics.
Yes, I'm sorry, Ashley. I can never remember your business name, and I apologize. She has one, so I'm following her. But yeah. Anyway, so that's been happening. Now that we've been talking for
TikTok.
like 10 minutes.
All right, so what's the plan today?
Okay, so we have a few things to address. It is June 8th, so it's been a couple weeks since all of the country got, since everything happened, and since George Floyd died, and I want to address that in a way that is respectful, and then we're going to talk about your stuff, your sale. So first, I know that a ton of people are doing like raffles and all the things, and raising a bunch of money for Black Lives Matter, and I think that's fantastic. And I have contributed in my own ways. I don't feel the need to blast out
vocalize
how
everything
I've
that you've done
it
Yeah.
because I think it's personal, and you should be doing this with a humble spirit. I on my personal page have been trying to share as much information as possible, but I also was made aware. Well, this is kind of like a growing thing, but I've been made aware that me and you are in a very specific and, like, we have a skill set that we can share to an audience that is free. And where I think that you should definitely support Black artists and potters and the movement and all those things. I think that's amazing, and you should. I realized this week that with free content, we can reach a demographic that may not be able to afford business help, pottery help, that they may not be able to go to classes. A ton of people learn pottery on their own.
Or they don't even live near a place that has a studio, or they're rural or wherever.
Yeah, and so I think that that's powerful, and I've switched my Instagram to not cat videos and stuff like that. I'm doing a lot of like awareness and sharing voices that are qualified to say certain things about like the movement and about social justice. I'm not as versed. I'm learning, and I know you are learning as well. But we know pottery, and we can help all people of color and of everything by what we are doing. And if I can help one person start a business and learn how to price their pieces, or learn how to like put their kiln shelves up against a wall instead of laying them flat, then I can, and I think that's super valuable. And so I just wanted to address that we are making a conscious effort to teach, and we can teach.
And that's something that we can do from what our experience is.
Yeah. And, we're doing stuff on our own. Like, I know personally I'm having a lot of conversations and with people around me and in my studio and stuff like that. And so, going out and me and Ryan were talking about the march. We did a peaceful march in Monroe here, and it was a great turnout. And somebody took a picture of me, and I have the sign in front of my face. You can see my best friend like super clear, but the sign just says Black Lives Matter, and then my face is gone.
There's a sign that's strategically placed where all you can see is her green hair off the backside of the sign, and that's it.
So we're trying to do our stuff on our home front and affecting the people around us, but I think it would be foolish of us to talk about to change our podcast to something that a lot of other podcasts talk about and are well informed about. There's tons of podcasts on NPR, a few of them. I think that one's like 1912. And then there's another one called Throughline that are good. Throughline's NPR. They had a really great podcast about American police, and
there's a variety of topics that other people can speak on. You and I are individuals. We have our own experiences. I go back and forth through all the vast amount of content that we've consumed over the last day, much less week or 2 weeks or whatever. So there's so much content out there, and Becca wanted to put that preface on all of that because, as she said, I was like, how can you talk about this because you're less sensitive than I? So thanks for mentioning all that, because
and there's a lot of people getting exposed right now, like Black people that are getting exposed that their businesses are becoming more popular, which is fucking amazing, and that's great. And we want to be here so that you can sustain that, and to not just. I've been there. I've been at the point where somebody gave me an opportunity, or an opportunity came where I've like sold a bunch of pieces and I didn't take advantage of that. And I think it's not one of my regrets. It's definitely not one of my regrets, but had I taken advantage, gotten a website, made a brand, done all these things that we're trying to talk about, I would have been a little bit better off. So that's it. That's it. We're with you. And moving forward. Okay.
All right, onward.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, Becca.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your sale.
Do we want to do the listener question and then we'll go into that?
Let's do the listener question.
Because it kind of relates, sort of. All right, so this question came in through Instagram from who we talked about earlier, Bold Over Ceramics, Ashley. And the question is, how did you get into teaching classes? And at what point did you feel competent enough to start teaching? Did you teach at all before having your own studio?
I taught a little. Like, I did not teach enough to be qualified. What about you?
How did you teach otherwise before that?
I mean, like,
Was it more informal?
Yeah, like people
like friends or something like that?
Yeah, or, in college, somebody would be doing something and I would try to help them out and stuff like that. So that would be that. That was something that I'd be like, here, let me help you, and I'd teach like certain basics and stuff, but nothing in like a formal setting. What about you?
Yeah, so I didn't start teaching until I was at Baker Hunt. I think I hit about 2 years now of teaching there.
Did you take classes at Baker Hunt first?
I did not. Okay. So how I initially started was I was looking for places to teach. There are some clay studios around me: Queen City Clay, Core Clay, Covington Clay. I've been to a variety of these studios. I haven't taken classes at most of them.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of the people that are there. I know some of the instructors there, some of the staff there, and how I decided to approach it, I was nervous in that aspect too. I was under the impression that I was not good enough to teach others what I am skilled at in a way that comes across as a good teacher would, I guess. So I was feeling bad, like I didn't want to make people pay to learn from me before I was confident enough in my abilities. So what I decided to do was a friend of mine, Dita Mert, was teaching at Baker Hunt, and I asked if I could kind of voluntarily shadow her during her 8-week session that she did.
Yeah.
And what we did was I just kind of communicated with Baker Hunt. I was like, hey, I'm interested in teaching. A friend of mine already teaches there. I don't have any experience in teaching clay, but I am skilled in clay, and I have a small business and make pots and stuff. So would there be any objection to me voluntarily shadowing my friend that already teaches there on Monday nights? So that's kind of what we did, and we kind of shared the load. It was just like it is now. It's 10 adults, so they were already in a variety of different skill levels of beginning to intermediate, advanced. A lot of them had already taken classes for 5 and 6 times. And that first session, I just kind of did demos every other week or every week of different skills and different parts of my practice that I thought were unique, whether it was how to facet a pot and stretch it from the inside, or, carving techniques, or throwing certain forms that I like to make. So I kind of did it that way. So I don't know if that's common, but I would say if you know somebody that teaches at a studio, maybe that's a good way to ease yourself into teaching. Watch other people demo, watch them demo, how they discuss it, how they interact with the students as they're struggling or as they ask questions. And that's kind of how I approached it. That way it took the pressure off me. I didn't have to feel guilty about, hey, these people are paying me money to teach them, so I have to live up to that value of what they're spending on me. So that's kind of how I approached it. And then I think I did that one more session voluntarily, and then the one after that, Deedham actually left to go out of town. I think she took a residency at the Archie Bray in Montana, so she left, and that spot was vacant. So I just kind of stepped into it and I took over with expectation that she would be back in the winter.
Yeah.
Post residency, and she
never
ended
came
up
back?
coming back, but she didn't come back she came back to Cincinnati, but she didn't come back to teach.
Okay.
And then she ended up leaving, and now she lives in California. So that's kind of the way it worked. I taught informally for probably a total of 10 weeks or 12 weeks worth.
When did you feel like you figured it out?
Learn the ropes.
I'm curious to see.
I mean, I still have my doubts now.
Okay.
It's still hard and tough. You have to have that. I don't know. How would you explain it? You have to have the right way to approach how to explain something in simple terms that somebody can understand,
mm-hmm.
and is also, I don't know. I think just being able to explain what you're doing that may seem so simple that you can do it without any thought when you're just in your studio, but having to break down those steps and actually explain it is kind of what you need. You need the reps. You need to practice doing that and practice explaining it. Maybe doing that on your own in your studio and verbally talking through the steps that you're doing and how you would explain it to somebody that's brand new and has no idea what they're doing with this form. Maybe that's one way you could do it on your own. You could also do it through, an IG Live or Facebook Live, where you have an audience, they're watching you, because when you're demoing in a class, they're going to be watching you and they're going to be expecting you to be the expert in the room.
Yeah.
So, and also don't feel like you have to know every single answer. A lot of times I'll say, I don't know if I'm truly unsure of something.
Right.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think that, first I'm pausing because I found a bunch of podcasts. So, because Heidi posted a bunch of podcasts. So I'm just going to say the names really quick and then we'll move on. So one is Shine Brighter Together podcast. Another one, it's 1916, not 1912. No, 1619, sorry. 1619, not 1612. 1619. And, Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell, always. And then Unlocking Us. Heidi posted a bunch of those. I haven't listened to them, but I trust Heidi. So you can look at them if you want. Anyway. Okay, so when
what about your teaching experience when you got into it or got started?
I remember my teacher at the time, and I was like, I'm going to start a studio. He was like, what did he say? He said, why don't you do like a practice class and then get into it? And I was like, I don't have time for a practice class.
Was he kind of like teach 4 of your friends or something? And like try it out?
Yeah, he was like, teach a few people and try it out. And I was like, I do not have time for that. And it was kind of like my introduction to art shows. I did it very big the first time, which in turn turned out pretty okay. But this time, I think that it would have helped if I'd started a little bit smaller. And I had so many people. I think I had 18 students the first round of classes that I had. I was overextending myself. I had no idea how to teach well. I knew how to throw well. Let's be clear. Just because you know how to throw doesn't mean you know how to teach. Now, the only way that you will learn how to teach is if you start teaching. So
kind of like one of those wholesale things. Like, are you ever ready for your first wholesale order? No. Do you still need to do it or try it? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So like,
If you want, if you're like, teaching is not my thing, then you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
and teaching is not my favorite thing to do. I am now an okay teacher. A lot of people would say that I'm okay. I think that I'm mediocre at best. But over the years, I've been teaching for 3 years now. Over the years, I have found new ways to talk to people and new ways. I think you have to approach each student on their own. You know, like certain students I've had get really frustrated not getting it. And certain student, and so they like need instant gratification, which is hard on any front, by the way, doesn't matter. And so teaching them, you have to approach it differently. But then some people, you show them the basics, they can't figure it out, but they're persistent. And so like I have one student, and I really tried to teach her. Like I tried my hardest to teach her. And she just was not getting it. We were not communicating well at all. My fault, her fault, all of our faults. I finally just let go. I was like, you know what?
you do you.
Like, you do you.
You'll figure it
I
out.
will be here. I will be here. If I see something, I'll be like, yo, you know. And if she has a question, I will explain it. But I will be here. And when that happened, she's just started just throwing piece after piece after piece after piece. And then finally she figured it out without me. Like I'm, you know, I wasn't there. And a lot of people teach by example too. So like a lot of people, like when I was in classes at Bruning Pottery, he would throw the entire time. So people were watching him the whole time. I think that visual learning is a really strong and important thing. I don't do that in my classes. I try to go around to other people. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that you learn and little tips and tricks that you can say, you know, like little analogies and little things that you just learn over time, you know, like Ryan Reich from California, he always says do the Wu-Tang, and that's the W, and you want to make sure that you have like a W in a while you're centering your piece. That's how he teaches his kids, which makes so much sense.
Well, no, that was how he said do the bowl. Wu-Tang is for a bowl. That's your hand position for the bowl, because you're like,
that was it was the centering part.
What?
Yeah,
I thought it was for the bowl, because it was like
it wouldn't have
butterfly
worked,
or Wu-Tang or whatever for like massaging the inside and the outside of the bowl, so that as you pull.
No. See, Ryan didn't get it.
That's for both. I thought it.
Ryan Durbin didn't get it right. Well, I'll text Ryan and see if who's right. Anyway, but there's little things that you can say. I always use an analogy of starting in a freeway to a highway to town to to like main town, and then to like 25 miles an hour town, like on how you should control your speed as the farther you get into a piece. And that seems to work sometimes, and sometimes it
nobody's
doesn't.
vrooming it into their driveway.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, speed
in
kills.
Your garage, and you're just like, all right, we're close to home here. All right, let's step the foot on the gas here.
Yeah. So and you just pick up on little things. I've watched a lot of people teach, and that helped me a lot too. Watching YouTube videos of how people explain things, and so that's it.
Yeah, everybody learns different. So, and a lot of students are hands off. Like they can watch you demo, and they'll be totally like they need the time to.
That was me.
Get those reps in and not talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. They just need to get the reps in. They watch your demo. They kind of get the idea, but they need to get the feeling for themselves of how the clay needs to move and everything like that.
And some students,
and then they'll ask you if they need help.
Yeah, and some students, you literally need to put your hands on top of their hands. You need to put your hands on top of their hands and do it with them, and then they understand how to feel it. You know, there's people who learn differently, and so that's what's the hard part about teachers. Teachers, my hat is off to you. Because it sucks.
Could you imagine doing that with like 24 students in a room? Or oh my gosh.
It's yeah, I mean, that's
more,
hard.
Or whatever.
That's so hard.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That was our
All
listener
right.
question.
Thanks for
Ashley, I
thanks for
hope
that question,
helped.
Ashley. That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So, what else are we talking about?
Ryan had his first COVID
Yeah,
sale.
I wanted to talk about my first COVID sale
Not
at the Westside Market.
It was not a farmer's market.
It was not a farmer's market. So, it was more accustomed to a regular art show. And so the Westside Market is technically labeled as a farmer's market, which is probably the reason that they were able to host it and meet a number of requirements from the health department to actually have it. So that's kind of how we were able to do it without it being canceled. So, yeah, so it was on Saturday one day, 9 to 3. We had,
That's a short show.
What? That's not a short show. 9 to 3?
Mine are all
It's
9
like
to 6.
it was like an extended farmer's market. Normally it's 10 to 3, so
Okay.
anyways. Does that make it better than what I was able to sell well for 5 hours instead of or 6 hours? So it started off, I got there and I took my brand new tent. I bought a brand new pop-up 10 by 10 tent in December and I hadn't used it yet. Farmer's market I did a couple weeks ago, I used my existing one because I was like, well, I'm close to home. I don't want any issues. I want to be able to set up my first one and have no issues. This one I took my brand new tent and when I got there, I unzipped it and I forgot the white top.
I've done that.
So I forgot that and I was like, oh crap. Instead of freaking out and immediately driving home and getting it, I was like, Rachel was home still. So I was like, called her up and was like, hey, can you bring this for me? And I just did what I could with what I had until she got there. So I was able to set up my tables and pots and everything. And luckily I was on a corner and they gave us 15 by 15 space. So I had plenty of room to fit my tables and everything. And then I had a good idea of like the amount of space it was going to take and where everything was going. So that when she got there, I just popped the top on and popped the tent up, moved everything, and then shifted it right into spot where it needed to be. So
wait, pause. If you ever do forget your tent topper and you're far away from home, and which I've done, just remember that if it's a one-day show and you don't have a topper, it's not going to be the end of the world unless it's raining. But you do sell pottery, so it doesn't really matter. And
exactly.
So just ask the coordinators how they want you to proceed. But also, when I forgot it and I was a long way away from home, I put it on Facebook and I was like, who's coming this way? Can you bring me something? And a friend of a friend was coming to Leavenworth, and I gave them the code to my shop. They picked it up. Like, you can find resources. Somebody will probably be going that area. So just okay, continue.
Yeah, so we got that set up. Didn't let it phase me. If I did have to go without a top, it would have been fine. I mean, it was a really hot day. It was probably high 80s, so it was kind of hot, but I could have dealt. Yeah, so that went off without a hitch. I got all set up in time. And then it was myself and another clay artist. Total for the day, I'll just go right into the numbers. Total for the day, I sold about $960 worth of pots.
Okay.
So I spent $50 for the tent.
Okay.
For the day. So pretty good day. On average, last year, I sold there twice last year, and I want to say I sold about 500 at one of the shows and about 6 or 650 at the other one.
Okay. So would you say that more people were out
better.
there? More people were out there today because of COVID, or this time because like they had been cooped up, or like were there a lot of people?
Yeah.
Okay.
There were a lot of people there. I talked to the coordinator at the very end of the show when I was leaving, and she told me there was a total of 2,700 people that came through for the day.
I think that people are really worried about these shows that are like restricted. I think people are going to flock. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I think there's a perception that nobody has any money to spend because of COVID going on and all the job loss, but I feel like there's so many people out there I know there's a lot of people that are affected by the job loss and stuff like that, but when we're talking about like an area like Cincinnati where there's such a huge population,
Yeah.
there's so many people that do have money to spend and they want to get out with their families for a day and they want to support local businesses, just like they know a lot of people that might have lost their jobs or family or whatever.
Yeah.
They know that there are a lot of small businesses that are not able to host, be at events and sell their stuff, and they don't have brick and mortars, and
Yeah.
you know, they don't sell online or whatever. They're
Yeah.
willing to come out and support. And I had multiple interactions with customers that were like, just as much as you're happy to be here, we're happy that you're here, because it gives us something to go to, and it gives us a way to support people that are local to us.
Yeah, that's big. Oh, I'm not trying to take away, but I forgot. I am opening up my store on Thursday.
Nice.
We can talk about that later, but I thought I'd say that. Okay, continue. So
let's see, what else?
what was the protocols there? Like, what did you have to do?
Yeah.
Or if there was any?
So when we got there, they walked around. There were two kind of medical professionals that were there. Actually, one of the leaders of the event they're a beekeeping small business, and then her husband works full time as a medical at a clinic. He's a doctor at a clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of the main person discussing all of the precautions and stuff when we were planning the event, and they were talking to vendors back a few weeks ago. So what they decided to do, they had two medical professionals there, him and another woman that he works with. They were checking temperatures, so they checked all the vendor temperatures in the morning when you got there. You did not have to wear a mask when you were setting up because we were all spread out. Like I said, 15 by 15 tents, so we're well within 6 feet of each other when we're setting up.
Yeah.
Offloading vehicles and stuff like that. And then there was a single entrance and a single exit
Okay.
to the
Separate.
show.
They were separate.
Yeah, they were separate. So they were kind of like adjacent to each other, but like you would go into one spot and then go out, you know, a little bit further down in the lot or whatever. They limited how many people could be inside the show at one time, so they were at the entrance with like a clicker to count how many people were actively inside, and I'm guessing that clicker helped them get a grand total for the day as well. They were planning to do temperature checks on customers as they got there, but they removed that restriction, or that that they didn't have to do that, so they decided not to do it for all the customers coming through. Vendors had to wear masks the entire day when interacting with customers.
Okay. Did customers have to wear masks?
Visitors were not required to. So this is probably the one part that people are going to be like, oh no, or worried about. The visitors that were there, about 20%, I would say, were wearing masks.
Okay. So
very small percentage of customers were. I would say a number of things factor into that. If people aren't required to do something, they're not going to do it. Also, it was, like I said, like 85, 88 degrees out there. So anything that somebody can complain about wearing a mask, anything added to that with heat, or they can't breathe, or whatever, their glasses fog up, an excuse that somebody can come up with, they're not going to wear it. I don't know what your feelings are about that, but
no, I agree.
So, you know, as a vendor, I don't care. I need to wear a mask because I cannot physically be there if I don't wear a mask. So for me, I will be wearing a mask because it's required of me.
Yeah.
If I was out and about and it wasn't required, but I'm a vendor, I'm going to wear a mask because I represent the event as a whole. If the organizers and the people that are representing that event, just like if you go into a business and the business owners and the employees there don't wear a mask, they're kind of setting an example for the people that are attending, that are coming.
That's true.
And that's kind of where I see it.
What an adult way to look at that.
So that was like when I got my haircut last week. I don't know. I'm not going to shout out who it was, but I went into the establishment. I was the only one wearing a mask in the establishment.
Yeah.
As a customer, as an employee, anything. my wife got her haircut the week before at the same place when they first enforced the retail opening, mask required, and here's our protocols. We're going to hand sanitize. We're going to wash our hands when we get there, all that stuff. None of that was the case the week after when I came and got my haircut.
Yeah.
So all of that just fell to the wayside. And they're holding business inside an air-conditioned space. It's a smaller business. I mean, the whole room is probably 30 by 30.
Yeah.
And there were maybe 12 people in this space. So not enough space for social distance. Literally, you're right in front, one-on-one with people in a salon or barbershop. So, I don't know. So, yeah, the customers, the majority of them did not wear masks. Most people were coming in groups, families walking around or significant others, stuff like that. So, they were kind of in groups together walking around. Let's see, what other restrictions? I did have hand sanitizer. That wasn't required. It was up to each individual booth if you wanted to restrict customers from touching certain things or if you wanted them to sanitize before or whatnot. They did ask us to put markings out on the ground 6 feet outside of our tent or from our tables. But with the number of customers walking around, it was so hard to enforce that. They would almost have to come up to your tent and be at your table and be like, hey, can you back up? Because there's already somebody here. So that was kind of hard. I don't know. That was the only part that's hard because you're representing your business, right? You want people to be safe, but you don't want to be telling people what to do.
Yeah. You don't want to offend anybody, which you shouldn't be offending anybody anyway, but as we know, we have a fragile world.
Yeah, I mean, and people would say, oh, it's your responsibility to enforce that stuff, but I don't know. It's a slippery slope a little bit. I mean, I chose to be there. I know the risks. I'm willing to be there. I'm willing to offer sanitizer if I want. I'm sanitizing throughout the day if I need to.
Yeah.
And yeah, so customers, luckily the way that I had my booth set up, it was on a corner. So I had a table kind of in an L shape so people can kind of come from one corner or from one wall or the other wall of the tent. So they were spread out enough that they could be looking at two separate tables of work and not be, immediately close to somebody or talking right across from them or, like some tents, if you go into a tent and it's in a U shape, the tables, and you go in and you're like back to back with people.
Yeah.
So I think that helped with my corner booth. Yeah. But, I was planning to say hey, I'm going to be kind of like the farmer's market where I was going to have a front table and then everything behind me. But I don't know. I think I would have lost so many sales that way. And it would have been so much extra work and effort for me to be the middleman. And I don't know, shows like that, you kind of want people to stumble upon and be able to browse. And
that's hard. I can't even
it's
imagine.
hard not to be a like a one-on-one kind of like I don't know the right word, like a concierge kind of thing. Is that where you go to a clothing shop and they're like, what can I help you pick out or something? And they're like kind of your go-to person to consult with. So,
which I've never done, but I'm sure it sounds nice.
I went to a when we were traveling in Italy last year, we went into a shop and it was a handmade clothing shop. So this woman was older. She made every article of clothing that was in there. And
holy
scarves
crap.
And everything. So you go in there and there's kind of like a counter to the right and there's like a checkout counter to the left. But the counter to the right is kind of like her making station.
Yeah.
But there's a unit of cubbies on the wall with different shirts in it. I don't know if this is a cultural thing or if it was because she hand makes everything. But I go in there and I'm looking through the different shirts because I want to see the styles and the designs and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I want to pick a design and then find the right size and be like, okay, I like this design and then I want this size.
Yeah.
And she's more like, she wanted to touch
help
the stuff back there instead of me touching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if she made it herself, it's not like it's from China.
I was thinking more I'm thinking more like you go to TJ, not TJ Maxx. If you go to what's a clothing store? Like, I don't know.
Like Ross?
You go to Dillard's or
Dillard's?
JCPenney
Oh,
or
God,
something.
I haven't heard Dillard's in a while.
So there's a row of shirts, and you're like, okay, these are all stacked and they're packaged
You were thinking
individually.
JCPenney's.
JCPenney's, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I want to pick the style that I want, and then I want to find the size. So that's what I was trying to do. But I'm like looking through the shirts, and she's like, oh, I want to get them for you. Because it's like she doesn't want you in her space kind of thing. So
Well, also, what do you have on your hands? Like, you could have grubby little fingerprints. Like, I get it.
I guess as a customer, I just want to stumble upon something and find it. I don't want to feel like I'm being sold to or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like that's going to hinder my purchasing experience. But I don't know. Maybe that's the new way of
doing
how
stuff.
we're going to have to sell stuff,
Yeah.
So that was the majority of the day. I don't know what they capped the total number of people at any point of time.
Yeah.
In the lot, but I don't know. It could have been like 300. I think currently, the state of Ohio may have a cap of no gatherings over 300 people.
Okay.
Right now. So that's a way that if you have a central exit and entrance, then you can keep the capacity regulated.
Yeah.
By counting, and then also, like, I know there are vendors there, but you can be like, okay, there's no more than 300 people in this collective space at one time. So,
yeah. I wonder if there's like some sort of an app that they have that, like somebody's at the exit and somebody's at the entrance, and like it's hooked up, like it's like not Bluetooth, but like it can talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, you just need one. You just need one central counter that I'm sure there's an app you can sign into.
There's gotta be
multiple points of access, and then you just have
like one subtracts and one's adds. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's probably out there, I'm sure. So yeah, that was the general experience with the show. Do you have any questions about how the show went, or like specifics about customers or interactions or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like...
Because you're talking about Leavenworth. Would you, if that was how Leavenworth happened, obviously you said it's harder with the limiting of how many people and stuff.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable as a vendor selling at that?
I mean, I would probably be comfortable selling at any point. I'm actually not doing Leavenworth this year. Did I tell you that?
You were thinking about it, but you didn't commit. You didn't tell me you committed to anything.
I committed. I finally committed. So I'm not doing Leavenworth this year. Not because of COVID. I'm more than happy to...
Well, partially COVID, if you relate it back to your
Yeah, I guess partially
business.
COVID. It's mostly because the store is... I'd have to be away from the store for 3 days, which is fine. But I'm concerned about like the health stuff and how that goes, and then, just everything that's going on, just how I can navigate it with an employee, and like, will we be making enough money to support an employee, with the people? Because who knows if they're gonna be out hiking instead of doing pottery, But
Right.
So, I'm kind of just being cautious about that, and
there's so much unknown, right? All these businesses that are reopening, they're like, am I gonna have customers? Like, I have no idea what these restaurants are going through with having to figure out the capacity percentage and, staff that they need to actually feed these people and have hostesses and servers to actually like interact with the customers, and then all that stuff.
I have a lot of friends that are like, we aren't opening till phase 3 or till the governor gets us, or not the governor, but like till they figure out like a solid system. Like my friend who owns the pizza restaurant, she's like, we're doing fine just doing what we're doing, and their dining room is tiny, so it would...
Are they just running really lean and just focusing on pickups and deliveries, and that's it?
Yeah, and they're doing fine doing that, and it's been good. It's just that, like, you have to have 6 feet between tables and stuff like that. That moves their dining room down to like 2 tables. So what's the point, right? Like,
and do they have space for outdoor at all?
No. So like, it's, at some point you're like, well, what's the point if I'm gonna hire? What's your profit to labor? like with your cost to labor ratio, if I'm going to hire a server, I might as well just stick to takeout. So, yeah.
Right.
It's definitely, yeah. I don't know. I think we're a lot more tied down than you are where you are at. Washington has been slower to get out of the restrictions.
Does it matter with obviously it's a statewide thing. Is there different perception being in a rural, your town is small. Is there a different perception
counties,
from the people?
It's per county. So, like,
okay.
Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties are the biggest counties, I believe. And so those are the slowest coming out. I'm in Snohomish County. And Chelan County is pretty big too. But, like, all of the super rural counties are, like, already in phase 3, and they're fine, and they're, doing fine. And a lot of those people don't even care. They're probably like, we ain't following those rules. Nobody in our county. Like, some counties have 0 cases. So, they're like, I think a lot of people are thinking, well, there's no cases here. Why are we really doing this? And so, I mean, that's what I perceive. I'm not sure that's true or not. But
no documented cases or whatever or whatnot. I was wondering more if people live in a rural area, are they more feeling like wanting to get back to some sort of normalcy with opening places, or me being near Cincinnati, obviously there's a lot more population, there's a lot more density here.
Yeah.
Does it make people want to get back to normal here as well, because there's more events and activities and things to do in such a dense area compared to rural living that might be more simple and less?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of people are going
but
a lot of people are going to the rural counties that are open.
Right. Whether it's like camping or hiking or just getting away a little bit for a retreat.
Which is, by the way, defeats the point. But, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah. So I would say overall the customers were appreciative of being there. I was happy being there. I felt safe with the with the research I've done with transmitting through surfaces, I felt confident that it's so low risk.
It is very low risk, actually.
With transmitting, even with like where people are, and I don't shame you or feel bad or feel like you shouldn't be doing this, but people that like sanitize their stuff before they ship it in the mail, like I honestly think that's overkill. But I mean, if you're going to do it and you have the resources to do it, then if you feel like it's safe and your customers like it, then do it. But at an art show, I offer the sanitizer. If they want to sanitize, I'm going to sanitize a little bit throughout the day. I try to do my best to talk through the products. I mean, our medium is very tangible. People picking up mugs, they want to be able to pick it up. They want to, decide based on how it feels. They want to pick up a berry bowl and see what it looks like on the bottom and get an idea like what it actually what it functions for. Mm-hmm. It's not paintings or photography where you're going to see it on a wall and you're experiencing it just like you would in your home.
Yeah.
Our medium is very tangible. People have to pick it up and use it and whatnot like they're going to use on a daily basis. So in that aspect, I felt comfortable with how the day went. I ended up having the tables accessible. Customers came right up to the tables, touched stuff if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Flipped through a bin that had spoon rests in it and picked their spoon rest and sat them out and picked through shot glasses and all that thing. So I was totally fine with that. And there wasn't, anybody that was super close and like talking right into me.
Spitting in your face.
Yeah. Like I had a 3-foot table between us, and then I have the rest of the booth like 5 foot by 5 foot behind me, behind the tables that I could space out and keep my distance if I needed to and all that kind of thing. So overall I felt pretty good about it.
Good.
I did have some new product a new product that sold really well. I wanted to just go down the list of like the products that sold so people can kind of get an idea. So I displayed the berry bowls for the first time.
Yeah.
That was my second best seller for the day. The best seller
Nice.
for the day was oil bottles. I sold $243 in oil bottles
Wow.
of the 960. Berry bowls were $175 worth. So I didn't have this product ever before, and that accounted for $175 of my 960. So
Wow.
it's like figuring out new products that work. That's just positive sales that I did not have in the past. So if I were comparing that to like my past show here, like you could say berry bowls set you apart, and that could have like made up for the difference. And I don't know, there's different ways to look at it, but yeah, berry bowls, I would say the biggest hit quantity wise were the planters with the air plants.
Really?
I sold 14 of those.
Nice.
And those are just the little shot glasses with air plants. So those are, I was telling Rachel this, those on the table are like people walking an art show with a cute puppy. It draws people in, and they go and they like, can I pet your dog? Your dog is so cute. Blah, blah,
like,
blah,
oh
blah.
my god, a
So
succulent.
the air plants in the shot glasses draw people in, and they're like, oh my gosh, these are adorable.
These
and
are
then they draw
adorable.
you in, and then they're looking at them and they're picking through them. So that's what I like to compare them to.
That's good. I'm happy that you found that little
and those
nugget.
Yeah, so those sell the air plants sell for $12 a piece with the planter.
With the planter.
And
how much do you buy the air plant for?
Typically, the air plants are bought between $1 and $2 a piece.
God, those are so cheap. I once bought an air plant from a store for like $15.
Well, these are small. These are like
Okay.
These are like 2-inch air plants.
Okay, so you buy them for $1.
small.
Your cost for your little planters are probably like $2.
My
maybe.
my planter sells for $7, and
That's
the air plant
good.
part of it sells for $5.
That's a high
So I'm
profit
making-
margin and a quick turnover. It's good. And you don't
Yeah.
have to make half of it.
Right.
You just have to water.
I do have to care for them, so I do
Yeah.
have to water, 50 to 70 air plants at a time. It was nice to get rid of 14 of those over the weekend.
I bet.
So yeah, and I actually had 2 customers that were like, I have some stuff, but I need to replace my air plants. Can I just buy the two air plants from you? So I did sell 2 of them with just air plants.
Why
so
not?
I was like, yeah, I'll sell them for the difference of what the pot is. They're $7, so they're $5 a piece.
There you go.
Just pick whatever one you want.
500%. Not too shabby.
Yeah, pretty good. So that spoon rests were up there. I sold 10 of those for $120. Shot glasses, individually shot glasses, I sold about $100 worth of shot glasses. That was 15. I didn't
Nice.
realize I sold that many shot glasses.
Wow.
And that's not even including the ones with the air plants. So shot glasses went pretty well.
If we haven't made this clear enough through all of our podcasts, small things sell.
That gets you in the door. That gets you a
Well, and not only that, but it's cheap enough for somebody that doesn't have a ton of money that wouldn't normally buy a mug, or it satisfies that lower cost,
and if they don't have space, they really
yeah.
like the colors and stuff, but they don't have room to put a vase somewhere, or they have
or they're traveling.
tons of mugs, or they're gifting it. I think somebody bought a couple of the planters with air plants and they were sending it to their friend in Wisconsin or something. So yeah, mugs didn't sell that well. I sold a couple mugs, and the planters, I had a whole table. Well, 2/3 of a table were planters with they're kind of the cylinders that are, I don't know, 3 inches by 3 inches wide, and then they're maybe 4.5, 5 inches tall. So they just look like little tumblers with trays underneath. I sold one of those. So I would say my big takeaway of things that didn't do as well was don't focus as much on the planters on the table. I kind of wasted that real estate if I were to take the feedback from the day. I thought they were going to be a hit, They were not. The plants with the air plants were the bigger hit of the planters and stuff.
Yeah.
People either didn't know what they were when they saw them. They thought they were a bunch of tumblers. And I had to kind of show them, like, no, they're planters. They have holes in the bottom. And then I would kind of make the joke, like, yeah, if you want to drink from it, you'd have to, like, plug the bottom and then, like, hold it above your mouth and, like, let go and, like, let it go in your mouth or whatever. So, yeah, that didn't come across as easily. If there were plants in them, it might have came across better. And it might have made more sense. But, yeah, if I was comparing that to a brick and mortar shop, obviously you want the stuff near the front of the shop to be the eye grabber, the thing that pulls people in.
Stuff in the window.
Yeah, the window shopping stuff. So I could have, done with maybe 1/3 of a table with planters and then maybe use that other third for oil bottles, for instance. I could have put oil bottles on this table and that table.
Right.
And it would have drawn people in from this direction that couldn't see the oil bottles on the other table.
Yeah.
Or maybe I would have spread some of my products across both tables.
Yeah, I like to identify the piece that brings people in, which is outstandingly the pinch pots and the mugs. And now I guess the garden stakes. I like to identify those pieces and spread them out because.
Do you so you don't necessarily put those in the front? You might put the pinch pots in the front, but you also put the garden stakes like in the back near you.
I put them
or
inside, in the middle of the booth, so they have to walk inside. So somebody told me once that your first goal in selling in a booth is to get them to walk inside. Don't put everything that you have that's great out in the front. Put some stuff, put your grabber, and then have something more exciting on the inside. Because once you get them inside, then they're more likely to stay there. So,
plus they can look around in all directions and see everything else you
right.
have.
So I put mugs on the left side and the right side, and so I can get all of the angles for that. And that's usually what people are looking at anyway. It's not necessarily what they're going to buy, but I don't know anybody that can resist looking at a freaking mug.
See, I think my mugs were overlooked because they were on they were hanging between the two tables. If you remember, it's like an L shape.
Yeah.
And the mugs were hanging in the corner of the tent right where the tables met.
Do you put any of your mugs on the tables?
I had like 5 mugs on the one table with the air plants and planters and the oil bottles. So the mugs that did sell, I want to say most of the ones that sold were on that table or in the little cubbies that were on that table.
Okay.
So I did have to kind of point people like, oh yeah, if you like those mugs, like there's a whole rack hanging.
I think that's fine. You're going to, like, you watching your booth and being aware of that is fine. I mean, that's good, right? Because they wouldn't have seen it if they weren't on that table.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and the good thing about them being in the corner there, it was the outmost corner, so people could have been accessible from one side of the booth or the other side of the booth.
Yeah.
Whatever table they're looking at currently. So, yeah, I would say those were kind of the takeaways with the booth setup. I felt like a noob going into it because even with the boxes and stuff, like I went old school with it. I just had cardboard boxes and just piled in the planters and like stacked them. I pulled a Becca with like just throwing them in there, stacking them all together, and like didn't even like wrap them or anything because I was like, I'm taking so many planters, I'm gonna kill it. And I brought back all of the planters except one.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, if I would have done it further, I would, because I wasn't sure. I was like, people aren't gonna want to spend as much money, so I went with the lower price thing. So. But that wasn't the case. I think the next ones I would bring out some more oil bottles, some more berry bowls. And people like the speckled clay. That was the first time I had an event with speckled clay out there. So
yeah.
People were willing to buy that. So I thought that was pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, lesson learned. I'm still figuring it out. I feel like it's brand new with the shows. You can't use all of your tricks from previous years because the selling is a little bit different.
It is.
But some of the tactics are the same with the converse. Obviously, you got to talk with your customer. Even though you have a mask on, they can't see your mouth. They can't see you smile as you're walking by. You still have to greet them. You say, hey, how's your day? We didn't have a lot of COVID talk or anything like that. Like, just be human with them. I don't know how to say that, but just be kind to people and,
yeah.
tell them you appreciate them being there and all that good stuff. So
Yeah. Good. We're at a minute
All right.
or an hour and 10 minutes almost.
I know. Long one.
Indeed.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's
I feel
it.
like I talk forever. I need some water.
You need some water.
I had to stay hydrated so much. It was so hot out there.
Welcome to summer.
Yeah, but it was good. Man, this snow cone place, the snow cone truck across from me were killing it all day.
Oh my
Killing
God,
it.
I want a snow
Kona
cone.
ice. They started the day, they were like right on the edge of the walkway, and then they had to move halfway through the day and like move back another 20 feet so the line was not going straight across the pathway.
That's hilarious.
So that was kind of fun. All right. Hopefully we'll get back to some more shows. I'm keep my fingers crossed that these shows coming up here in late June and July and stuff are still going to be on, but I'll keep pushing those online sales and doing my best. I'll get back to teaching here soon too. So
Yeah, and I'm opening.
Are you opening for the Paint a Pot only, or are you also doing some more studio members having access more regularly?
Studio members will have more access, and then, and I am finishing up a class that was rudely interrupted by COVID, and so, yeah, so that'll be good. But I want to see if the class members will be down to do it in like a week. I'd love to just get through the class, you know, like.
Where were you at? Was it like a 6-week class and you were
It was a
4 weeks in or something?
It was a 4-week class and we were 2 weeks in.
Ugh,
And
man, just killed the vibe right in the middle.
Right, and 3 of them, and then there was one lady that didn't even make it to the class, and I want to make sure she gets there. But so I've been thinking about maybe doing like a week class and then saying, hey, you can come in for the next like 2 weeks and practice and do stuff, and then if you want to be a member, you can. So I might do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got my teaching is starting back the week after July 4th. So that'll be my regular teaching session at Baker Hunt with the in-person stuff. I am doing a couple Instagram classes that are online only. They actually start next week on June 15th, so I don't know if we're going to release this Saturday, but that will be online only for 2 weeks, 1 hour at a time. It's kind of basically just taking my 2-hour workshops that I was teaching back last year and splitting them up and doing them online, which should be fun. I've done them in the past with the workshops. It'll just be different to be completely remote for it, but we'll see. I'm doing the 101 and the 201 on Instagram for makers, so those should be interesting. But yeah, it's been kind of nice not having to teach the last few weeks. I mean, it sounds bad, but maybe it doesn't sound bad. It's just different.
No, I really don't want to open up. I've really enjoyed the solitude. I'm going to be straight up.
The good thing is, if you do want more solitude, you could just be like, hey, I'm social distancing. Like, I just don't want to get too close to you.
Get in a week and be like, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't think I can. Yeah, well, we'll see.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you could find the podcast at Wheel Talk Podcast, or you could find myself at RD Ceramics. That's R as in Ryan, D as in Durban, Ceramics.
Or you can find me at 5 Lines Pottery Studio. That's the number 5. And don't forget, share this with your friends, like us on Instagram, and don't forget to write a review. It helps us an awful lot. Thanks.